One of the greatest special teams players of all time has officially hung it up. Matthew Slater, enjoy your retirement. Now the next question that everyone's talking about, will he make the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Well, welcome everybody to JG9 News. We talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Gary, and I representing the 904 from the 602. And today we are talking about the news that Patriots legend, who has been there since 2008, Matthew Slater, has announced his retirement, one of the greatest gunners in the history of the NFL. In the statement put out by Slater, he announced his retirement. A lot of people saw this one coming, especially after what happened the final game of the season. He acted like it was going to be his final game, and it was his final game. As he said on the retirement, for the last 25 years of my life, 16 of them as a New England Patriot, I have been incredibly blessed to be able to emulate the man I saw on those fields in Meridian by playing the game that I love so much. Talking about his dad, offensive lineman Jackie Slater, a Hall of Famer in his own right as well. As he then added, I have given all that I possibly can to respect and honor the game. Though it is time for my relationship with the game to evolve, the love I have for it will last a lifetime. And said Patriots owner Robert Kraft on Slater's retirement. Matthew Slater wasn't just a special teams player for the Patriots, he was a special team player who helped us win 3 Super Bowls and made a positive impact on the many lives he touched, both on and off the field. On the field, his 10 Pro Bowl appearances will likely earn him a place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame one day alongside his father. We look forward to celebrating his many future contributions and accomplishments. We know there will be many. So the question that everyone's asking right now, will Matthew Slater make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And the obvious comparison that people are saying is with Steve Tasker, the legendary Buffalo Bills gunner. People debate who's the best gunner of all time, and it usually comes down to Steve Tasker and Matthew Slater. And people say, look, Steve Tasker is not in the Hall of Fame, so there's no reason that Matthew Slater should be. Having said that, though, it might be apples and oranges. The voters might look at things a bit differently. Now, before we go any further, I just want to say that personally, not only would I put Matthew Slater in the Hall of Fame, I would put Steve Tasker in the Hall of Fame. It is long overdue for Tasker to be in the Hall of Fame. Special teams players absolutely deserve their moment in canon, and Tasker was one of the best to ever do it. Greatest gunner of all time in my book. I think he was better than Slater personally from the eye test, but Steve Tasker should be in the Hall of Fame. It is criminal that he is not in the Hall of Fame. I'm a believer in having a larger Hall of Fame, more people getting in. I'm not a small hole kind of guy, and Steve Tasker absolutely deserves to be in. So everything I say, do not take it as a knock on Tasker. I'm putting myself in the shoes of how I think the voters might look at this. Because again, if it were up to me, Steve Tasker would absolutely be a Hall of Famer. You look at the Pro Bowls. Matthew Slater has 10. Steve Tasker has 7. Advantage goes to Slater. Now again, Pro Bowls are not the end-all be-all. I'd be a massive hypocrite if I said that, because I wanted Ken Riley to make the Hall of Fame for years. He never made a Pro Bowl. I was a huge proponent in Fred Taylor making the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall. He's only made 1 Pro Bowl, and that was as an alternate in 2007 when Willie Parker got injured. So Pro Bowls are not the end-all be-all, but Slater has the advantage there, and voters like that. Slater won 3 Super Bowls. He was part of a dynasty with the Patriots in the 2010s. Tasker never won a Super Bowl. Matthew Slater made it to 5 Super Bowls. Tasker only made it to 4. I should say only, but Slater has the advantage there. Slater has 2 AP First-Team All-Pros. Tasker has none. Slater has 3 AP Second-Team All-Pros. Tasker has none. Slater has 5 AP nominations, whether it be First or Second-Team All-Pro. Tasker has none. So for anyone saying, well, Slater can't make it in because Steve Tasker hasn't made it in, it's a very different situation. Steve Tasker made it to 7 Pro Bowls. There are 65 guys in NFL history to make it to 7 Pro Bowls. Exactly 7. 38 of them are in the Hall of Fame. That's only 58.4%. 7 Pro Bowls is not a guarantee by any means. And of those 65 guys, Tasker is the only guy on that list to have 0 first or second team All-Pros. So resume-wise, when you look at the All-Pros, he actually has the weakest resume of any player with 7 Pro Bowls. Now, there are some guys on the list of the 65 that could make the Hall of Fame and will make the Hall of Fame. Luke Kuechly is going to make the Hall of Fame. He had 7 Pro Bowls. Justin Tucker will probably make the Hall of Fame at some point. Torrey Holt, he's long overdue. Jason Kelce will make the Hall of Fame. But many of those guys have been bypassed and likely will never get in. Jerry Mays, one of the greatest defensive linemen in AFL history. He helped the Chiefs win Super Bowl 4. He was an AP selection 8 times, made it to 7 Pro Bowls. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Richmond Webb, great tackle on the All-1990s team, a Pro Bowler in each of his first 7 seasons. He was an anchor on Miami's offensive line. He's not in. Andy Russell, how is he not in? He was a huge part of the Steel Curtain defense, 2 Super Bowls. He was great in the 60s and the 70s. He's not in. There are not enough guys on Pittsburgh that are in. Andy Russell should be in, and for that matter, L.C. Greenwood should be in as well. He's long overdue. John Morris, 15 seasons in pro football, 7 straight All-Stars to start his career with the Patriots. Maybe the best interior offensive lineman in Pat's history, not counting John Hanna. He's not in. Jack Kemp, 1 AFL Player of the Year in 1965, 2 AFL championships, great quarterback for Buffalo, prestigious position at quarterback, so you figure he might have an edge, but no, he's not in. Ed Budd, anchor on Kansas City's offensive line for a decade and a half. He was an All-Pro when the Chiefs won Super Bowl IV. He's got 7 Pro Bowls or All-Star games. He's not in. Chris Hinnon, the forgotten part of the John Elway trade. Remember when the Colts traded John Elway to the Broncos, they got the number 4 pick in return. Chris Hinnon, very good player, a great lineman who started 172 games, one of the best tackles in football over the second half of the 1980s, and then had a great career too with Atlanta to start off in the 90s. He's not in the Hall of Fame. And there are some guys with more than 7 who aren't in the Hall of Fame. Lamar Parrish, great quarterback with the Bengals and then Washington. 8, and a first-team All-Pro to his name, and he's not in. Although the Bengals seem to get shafted. Ken Riley didn't make it in until he died. Ken Anderson's not in. Lamar Parrish is not in. But still, it's crazy. 7 Pro Bowls is not a guarantee to get you in, and Tasker has, at least from an accolade standpoint, the worst resume of those guys with 7 Pro Bowls on the dot. Compare that to Matthew Slater, and this is why I say it's apples and oranges, and Tasker's Hall of Fame chances have nothing to do with Slater's. Slater made it to 10 Pro Bowls. There are 43 guys in NFL history to make it to 10 Pro Bowls. 43. You know how many are currently in the Hall of Fame? 37. 37 out of 43 guys with 10-plus Pro Bowls, double-digit Pro Bowls for a decade, they're in the Hall of Fame. Now, you might be saying, who are the other 6? Tom Brady. He's not in because he's not eligible yet. He'll be first ballot. Drew Brees. He's not in because he's not eligible yet. The great quarterback with the Saints. He's getting in. Larry Fitzgerald. Cardinals legend. Wide receiver. He's not eligible yet. He'll be first ballot. Jason Witten, I can't say first ballot just because I don't know what tight ends. Antonio Gates didn't make it on the first ballot. The only tight end to ever make it first ballot was Tony Gonzalez, so I don't know if Witten's getting first ballot. He might because of the Cowboys bias. Either way, he will make the Hall of Fame at some point, whether it be first, second, or third ballot. Jason Witten is going to get in. Aaron Donald, one of the greatest defensive linemen of all time. He's still playing. He might be the best defensive lineman of the 21st century. He's getting in. And Aaron Rodgers, obviously he's still playing. Once he retires and becomes eligible, he is getting in. So for all intents and purposes, 43 guys with 10-plus Pro Bowls. All of them are in the Hall of Fame except for the guys that aren't eligible yet or are still playing, and they will get in. So Slater's resume is way different than Tasker's resume if we're taking into account Hall of Fame chances. So just because Tasker's not in doesn't mean that Slater won't get in. Again, he's part of a dynasty. Every stat you want to look at it from an accolade standpoint, he is the upper hand, he is the upper edge over Tasker in that regard. For that reason, again, do not consider Tasker in this at all. Matthew Slater is his own person, and Matthew Slater has a good shot at getting in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, he will not be first ballot. I'd be flabbergasted if he gets in first ballot. But even though the committee doesn't really like special teams players, although it might be changing, so we got Ray Guy finally in the Hall of Fame. We got Morton Anderson in the Hall of Fame now. We got Devin Hester in the Hall of Fame. So maybe they're starting to open up with special teams. Still, Matthew Slater, he will probably be in canon someday. I can't say when that day is going to be. It'll probably have to be a weak field just because of the position he played. But I'd be stunned if he is not in the Hall of Fame within the next 25 years. And one more thing before signing off. Pro Football Reference, a great website, a great tool. I use them a ton whenever I do videos and do research. They have this thing called the Hall of Fame-ire where they rank everyone's chances of making the Hall of Fame. They give a number. It's not an exact science. It's not gospel by any means, but you look at the numbers for Steve Tasker, 15.88. Matthew Slater, significantly higher numbers. So like I was saying before, just because Steve Tasker is not made in the Hall of Fame yet, does not mean that Matthew Slater will not make it into the Hall of Fame. Slater has a better shot based on the accolades than Tasker does, and Pro Football Reference seems to think the same as I do. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Matthew Slater is a Hall of Famer? What are your thoughts on Matthew Slater announcing his retirement? What do you remember most about Matthew Slater during his NFL career? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.